What's going on, guys? Today it is August 2nd and we're a month away from deer season here in Kentucky. And because Tyler and I are just so excited, we have to get some more content out for you guys. Courtesy of Rage, this evening we're going to be doing a Broadhead review video.
In this video, we'll be testing them two different ways, drainage and durability.
So we hope you guys enjoy. Stay tuned. So tonight, what we're going to be testing, that Rage Hypodermic Trypan. Next up, we're going to be trying out that Rage Hypodermic, the one that we've been shooting for about 3 years now. And then last but not least, that brand new 4-blade Rage X-Treme.
So for the first part of the experiment, I'm going to be testing drainage with my Hoyt Carbon Defiant set at 60 pounds, 29-inch draw.
For the second part of the experiment, I'm going to be testing durability with my Hoyt Pro Defiant 70-pound limbs, 29-inch draw. So let's go ahead and get started with the part one to this experiment. Drainage.
First one, brand new X-Treme.
Oh my God, look at that entry, dude.
Look at spewing out the back.
Dude, that is insane.
It's a lot. That's nice.
Did you see it freaking spitting out on the front end of that? Oh my gosh. Right on. Dude, I can't wait to shoot a deer with that this fall.
For real.
Oh my gosh. There's no issues with that sticking. Put a big enough hole.
I mean, come over here, Andrew. Look at the entrance.
Good. Is this pretty decent sized cut on the entry?
Yeah, so you can see where that cutting blade is on the front versus the blades.
That's wicked.
Man, things are awesome. Alright, so up next we got the Rage Trypan.
That one's done it too. Wow. They all got a steady stream going. I mean, it's legit pumping out that bag.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy about that? Look how long that cut is. It's just, I'm pretty sure the X-Treme and the Trypan both have that same cutting down about 2 inches. That one still has a pretty good channel, even though
that one drained pretty fast. That one went down pretty quick. It was leaking pretty good out of the front. Man, that's awesome. It's awesome. Next up is the Hypodermic. I have personally killed a lot of deer with this one, including my buck last year, November 3rd. So hopefully this doesn't let us down. I don't think it will. Ready?
Let's kick it.
Oh yeah.
She didn't fail us. Oh yeah, no way. Look at that, both sides. That's crazy. Yeah, when they get to that exit, that tape that is resembling that deer hide, you can see it kind of closing up that flap on the top half right there. And you see that when you're a hunter, where part of that wound, that's why having a wider cut is so important, because you can look right there, it's seeping out this way really, really good. So for the second part to the experiment, it's on durability, and that's my part. And just like last time, first up the bat, that brand new 4-blade Rage X-Treme. Alright, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
The whole thing, but there's some air going back. Tip's got just a slight maybe, but blade, I see a little bend in the blade, but not too much, really, to be honest. I mean, you can look at the straightness of that. I don't know if you can see that. Mm-hmm. Besides, there's like a slight bend in this blade, but in the tip. But that tip, you can still put that through your finger. I don't even think that. I mean, you can look at the sharpness of that tip. I'd put that right back in my quiver, to be honest. Put a shot collar on it, and throw it right back in there. All right, next up the bat, Rage Trypan. Hole still just as good. Dang, and look at that exit. It's pretty far in there too. There's a slight bend on that one. But look at that tip. Titanium tip. That's sweet. Nothing wrong with it. Like, there's a pretty decent sized bend on actually both of them now that I look at it, but it's not that bad, almost similar to that X-Treme. But the tip, I mean, just still fine, and you could put it through your skin. That's crazy. Straight through the wood, into the ground. I just, seriously, if I'd had a different shot collar, I'd probably put that back in my quiver. And then last but not least, Rage Hypodermic. The one we've been killing deer with for 3 years now. See what Old Faithful looks like. Dude, I don't even see a bend in the blades. I'm not even joking. There's not a bend to the blade. That tip is still... That's insane. I swear to you. Little dull, but... I mean, that happens when you shoot through shoulder blades, but that tip too. This tip looks like it literally came out of the package. Dude. That's that steel. This is what we've been shooting. Wow. Getting the job done, and durability, I think this one, without a doubt, passed on durability and beat the others as compared to the X-Treme and that Trypan.
Whew. Well, obviously I'm no longer at the Hills farm, but I'm back at home. This is a couple days after we shot those scenes. After Tyler and I had shot, we cleaned up our mess, shot some more B-roll footage. It had just gotten too dark, and I figured it'd be better to come home, blow the footage up before we did the recap. So that's what we're doing right now, is the recap. Now, we tested two different things. drainage, and durability. And that durability test honestly kind of turned into a damage test as well. And I'll get into that when we get into the second part of the recap. But for the first part, clear as day, the one that we saw right off the bat and pointed out that won was that brand new 4-blade Rage X-Treme. You guys are probably looking back to that GoPro footage and thinking, man, they all had a pretty good stream flowing out the back end, and that is true. And in all honesty, the greatest explosion that we saw, I think, was on that Trypan. But what had the greatest not only exit wound, but entrance wound was that 4-blade Rage X-Treme. Seriously, it looked like somebody had turned a nozzle on for both sides and not just the back end on that X-Treme, and that is why we picked it as a winner. It had definitely the greatest entrance. When you look at the cut for these broadheads, your Hypodermic is a 2-inch cut, your Trypan is a 2-inch cut, and then your Rage X-Treme 4-blade is advertised at 2.3. Now, each one of the Rage's cutting diameter is also, well, you'll see a little plus sign by that. And the reason being is because on a slip cam design for a broadhead, you get what's called a slap cut. When it impacts that deer, it sits like an X. When it impacts that deer, it goes flat and breaks that seal. And the broadheads will literally lay like that. And then as it slides through that deer, they lock back into that position that is advertised for the 2.3, 2-inch cut, whatever broadhead you're looking at. It was kind of cool to see how the slap cut worked on those jugs. Now, obviously, I don't think that jug was enough to really fully get that slap cut that you would see on a hide, because that deer hide is a lot more durable. And we did our absolute best to imitate a deer. What we did for the jugs is we bought a gallon jug of water, put a little bit of red food coloring in the water to resemble blood. Now, obviously, blood is going to be a lot thicker than water and not run the same, but with what money we spent on this episode, I think it got its job done. And then on the jug, we put tape where the broadhead was going to be passing through for 2 reasons. To one, keep that jug from cracking even worse than what the broadhead was cutting, and then also to kind of resemble that sticky deer hide when you shoot through and you see wounds kind of close up after a while, and we actually saw that on each one of the broadheads. And then last but not least, what we did was we punctured 2 holes in the cap of each jug to resemble a deer's nostrils or mouth, letting in air to help that blood flow out. So for what it's worth, the jugs did their job. Obviously, like I said, it's not going to be exactly like a whitetail, but for shooting what we were doing and just trying to test these broadheads and see what they could do, I think it did a pretty good job. Now we get into the part 2 of what we shot for this video, and that was durability. And like I said, it almost turned into a damage test as well, because after we had shot and I started looking at each one of those holes that the broadheads put through the wood, and we used a 1/4-inch piece of wood to resemble a deer's front shoulder. Now obviously wood and bone are a little bit different, but I did my best at finding something to resemble it that wasn't going to be unsafe for us to shoot at, without a doubt, because I did not want to get hurt doing this video. So we used a 1/4-inch piece of hardwood, and it worked pretty well. But when we're talking about damage, when I looked through each one of these holes, Trypan, the Hypodermic, they were a pretty decent hole. There was a lot of back splatter from that wood. I mean, when it charred off and exploded, the shrapnel that went everywhere, it looked pretty mean and scary. But the cleanest hole through that shoulder blade or wood was that 4-blade Rage X-Treme. It literally put a hole the size of a quarter, and I could literally go up and just look through that hole clear as day. And I think that's pretty important to me, because when I launch an arrow through a front shoulder blade, I'm not worried about that expanding cut going through the shoulder. I want to see a hole through that, so then it gets those expanding broadheads into there to then open up and shred through those vitals. So I'm kind of excited to shoot that X-Treme, because I think damage-wise through that front shoulder blade, the X-Treme definitely took the win on that, but we didn't test for that. We tested for durability. And durability, what won was that Rage Hypodermic, the broadhead that we've been shooting for now 3 years. And there's a reason behind that. I kind of figured this was going to happen, and I'll explain a little bit, because I've been shooting the Rages for so long, and you kind of have to understand these broadheads, like I was talking about with the slap cut. Well, this can go for any broadhead, regardless if it's an expandable or a fixed blade. And what I'm talking about is when you take a broadhead and you want to expand the cut but don't go up in grainage, you've got to thin out the metal on those blades to be able to extend them out. And so when you take a 4-blade X-Treme or the Trypan and they extend those blades out but keep it at 100 grains, those blades get a little bit thinner in metal. Now on that X-Treme, there was definitely a bend in those blades. It wasn't anything crazy, but there was still a slight bend in the blades, and that's going to happen because that by far has the greatest advertised cut. Is a 2.3 inch cut, and like I said, for a slap cut, they're always going to advertise that little plus sign. So realistically, if it got the proper slap cut, you could see a 2.5 inch cut possibly with that Rage X-Treme that they just brought out. But all in all, every single one of these broadheads is a really good broadhead. I've hunted with 2 of them that we shot in this video. I haven't shot every single broadhead that they have out on the market. By far the most impressive one that I'm happy with is definitely that Hypodermic. And this year I had talked to Tyler about possibly wanting to switch to a hybrid head or a fixed blade. And then Rage dropped the bomb right before the ATA show on the brand new hybrid 4-blade Rage X-Treme, and I was super excited about that because, like I said, I've been shooting Rage for so long, and I'm excited to see what it's going to do this deer season, without a doubt. And I don't know if you guys saw what we were hanging our bows on throughout the video, but you guys need to do me a favor and go check out My Bow Buddy. They are an unbelievable company. They create some of the coolest bow stands, and they literally create them for ground blinds, tree stands, archery shooting like what we were doing, which we did a more of an experiment, not just target, but they create some nasty stands. They're really easy to access. They're quiet. They keep the bow cams out of the mud. And I'll leave a link in the description below to the exact stand that we used in this episode, as well as their website, so you can see their entire lineup and maybe buy one of their other stands for you to hunt with this fall. So on top of that, I'm going to leave a link in the description to each one of the broadheads that we shot in this video. And then I'm also going to leave a link to Rage's entire website so you can check out their entire lineup if you're a crossbow hunter or something like that. And that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Be sure to give us a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button if you already haven't. And I'll catch you guys later on the next episode of The Outdoorsman.